Today we will be overviewing the novel Love in the Time of Cholera, though more accurately known as The Torture of Fermina Daza, for reasons which will be made clear in a moment.
Ever since Fermina was a young girl, Florentino Ariza became obsessed with her and would constantly stalk her just to get a glimpse of her. As time went on, their relationship grew. They secretly wrote each other telegrams until the father caught them and sent away Fermina's helper, which was her aunt Scholastica. When the relationship grew apart, Fermina married a rich doctor, Dr. Juvenal Urbino, and after their marriage lasted 51 years after his death, that is when Florentino Ariza came back into her life and proclaimed his love for her. After she rejected him, he didn't give up and still continued to seek her love. Due to Florentino's inability to accept rejection, his love for her grew, evolved immensely, and very badly too.
Throughout the entire novel, The Love of Cholera, we experience this sort of controlling aspect from most, if not all, of the males involved. Starting with Fermina's own father, Lorenzo Daza, who is a wonderful role model and just wants his young little girl to grow up into a beautiful lady. So instead of letting her marry for love, Florentino Ariza, though in hindsight, Florentino Ariza was a bad pick. But regardless, instead of letting her marry for love, he instead chases off her suitor, which drives the suitor into a mad depression, though that's his problem, not hers. But chases off the suitor that she loves, and then tries to get her a new suitor and invites him over daily, even though Fermina rejects him constantly, until she finally gives in and says, I guess this guy is okay. This guy being, of course, Dr. Juvenal Urbino. Juvenal Urbino, during the entirety of Love in the Time of Cholera, starts off as dead, but when we go back to the beginning and we actually understand how their relationship goes on, we start to understand how he views Fermina, which none of the men in this novel view Fermina in a healthy way and take her for the aspects which make her her. He constantly views Fermina as a slave, and during certain parts of the novel will actually basically regard her as if she weren't there. And in fact, in their first fight that we encounter in the novel, he gets angry at her for saying that there was soap in the bathroom and that he was wrong, which points to a multitude of problems as this begins a 2-year stint in their relationship, which ends up being cold and heartless, and they don't talk to each other for 2 years. However, this is not the only time that this has happened. He dismisses her, he views her as less than, and does not treat her as if she were an actual person with actual feelings, and it's more along the lines of, you take care of whatever, I'm going to go do my public projects. As can be seen, there is not much connection between the two, and while they are around each other, they never truly fully connect, which can be seen when he actually cheats on her with someone else, and he values them as a person, more or less. That was mainly for sex, though, one could argue. But he views her as more of a person than he does his own wife. And if you actually look in the first few pages of the novel, you can see the hypocrisy that arises from Dr. Juvenal being in a high rank in society, so therefore he assumes that he can do no wrong, and actually points out that his best friend who died, him having a wife on the side, was scandalous and not acceptable for that life, and he looks down on him that way, whereas he has done the exact same things, yet he has never actually taken the time to introspect and see clearly that he has done the same thing, so he cannot judge. Now on to Florentino Ariza, a terrible human being. Florentino Ariza is Fermina's first love at the age of 18, and who actually is broken up with by Fermina of her own volition after her father, of course, sends her on a death march because he doesn't want her to be with Florentino. After she gets back from that death march, she sees him in the marketplace and suddenly realizes, I don't want to be with this guy, and breaks it off right there and then, which sends him, of course, into a depression because he can't have her. And that depression suddenly goes into objectification of Fermina Daza, as for the next 51 years, he not only stalks her, comes across random valuables of hers, such as a photo that she had taken with her cousin, which that is creepy in and of itself, as there were only 2 copies of that photo made. But every woman he sleeps with, he sees Fermina Daza, and if they don't level up to Fermina Daza, he doesn't care. And in his mind, he cannot marry because simply it's not Fermina Daza. Which leads to a very interesting scene at the beginning of the novel where Fermina Daza is mourning over her dead husband who isn't even cold yet, and then Florentino Ariza just walks up and goes, Hi, yes, I've loved you for the last 51 years. Please love me back. Which of course she responds with the appropriate reaction of saying, You know, what the hell are you doing here? Get out of my house. Which I'd say that's a pretty good reaction, considering he stalked her for the last year, and she doesn't know that, or last 51 years, sorry. In addition to all of the stalking, creepiness, and Aish, there is also the idea of he does not view her as a whole person, rather a goal to be obtained, and that is actually quite scary for Fermina Daza, as what happens if he obtains her and finds out that she isn't what he wanted? Will he throw her to the side and make a slip up like he did with one of his mistresses, where he actually wrote on her stomach after they were done having sex, and her husband saw, and her husband slit her throat and then slit his? So, will that happen again, or will it simply just be okay? That is the paradox that we are faced with this. And next we have Fermina Daza, who, in the end, did nothing wrong throughout the whole story, except in the beginning, just figures out that, she loves the guy, her dad takes her on a death march, and then figures out, wait, no, I really don't like the guy, after she sees him after that death march. But although she has her own character flaws, Fermina Daza did not do anything wrong. She just happened to date a creepy guy, which is not her fault so much as his. Love in the Time of Cholera is set in a Colombian city which remains unnamed, which gives quite a bit amount of detail to the idea that this could happen anywhere. During Love in the Time of Cholera, the city itself and the surrounding areas were rampant with the very disease the book is named after, which sets up a very symbolic meaning for the entirety of the novel and sickness in the novel. Another important setting is Florentino Ariza's lighthouse, which is set apart from society, which can clearly be shown to be symbolic, as his lighthouse is set apart from reality, so are his ideals and what he thinks are okay, as he grows further and further apart from regular culture.
For the elements of magical realism, the main element is the parrot. The parrot was a pet bird the family owned. After many years of Florentino and Dr. Juvenal's relationship, he banned talking animals in the house due to their inability to cooperate and listen to him. The parrot signifies life and death because Although it brought life to the house, and it was the only talking animal allowed in the house besides the turtle, the parrot is what caused Dr. Juvenal's death. One day the parrot got stuck in the tree and the doctor attempted to catch it, only he fell to his death. Another element would be the mango tree. The mango tree in the house dies as soon as the doctor dies, symbolizing the death and life. Another element would be the flow of the entire story, where it makes two overlapping circles. It starts in the beginning, goes through the story, and comes back to the end.